Hi, this is Anne Marie Kuntz, and this is my case study on parental apathy. Category 1, Problem Identification and Analysis. What do I know? Well, after reading the case study, I know that the school has a limited community involvement plan. The principal believes everything's fine. He totally would be fine keeping status quo. He thinks he's in contact because he talks to parents when he has to make phone calls home. The assistant principal does not agree with what the principal believes about parent contact. After finishing her program recently, she knows how important community involvement is. Previously, there has been little to no community involvement with the school. The principal at first says, no, we can't have a meeting for the parents, and then he reluctantly agrees to have this parent meeting. And then when it's time for the meeting to happen, only a verbal announcement is made to the students, and they're supposed to remember about the meeting and go back and tell their parents about it. What I need to know to help me solve the issues here are, why is the principal against the PTA and PTO? Was there a previous incident? What has given the principal such a negative outlook on the community's involvement in the school? I think it's interesting that the principal changed his mind. So why has the principal changed his mind about holding the meeting? I have my suspicions that it has something to do with the fact that there's not a clear plan, and perhaps maybe it's not aligned with the vision of the school. What other opportunities have there been for parent involvement? In the case study, it says that he's had negative feedback or little to no response when asked to volunteer. Well, the volunteer opportunity from the case study that was explained was volunteer duty for the cafeteria, and I'm thinking that would be pretty consistent in every community, that would not be the first thing parents would volunteer to do. The other thing that I need to know is I feel like I need to know, what is the school's vision concerning school and community relations, and has it even been created? The problem, as I see it, is the school has no clear plan for community involvement. And this in turn creates problems about disagreeing how to address community involvement. One administrator wants to have a meeting, one doesn't, and then reluctantly agrees to have one. It leads to disagreements about the effectiveness of current community contact. The principal believes he's in contact and everything's fine currently, and the vice principal does not, or the assistant principal does not agree. And there have been inadequate requests for community involvement, namely the verbal announcement made to students. Category 2, Proposed Plan of Action with Appropriate Strategies for Implementation. My first step in my plan of action is to have a meeting. The case study ended with the meeting and only 8 parents showed up, and the principal did not want to go ahead with the meeting. My plan would encourage the following strategies. First, have the meeting with the 8 parents. Let those 8 parents know that their relationship with you and with the school matters. If you're concerned about the lack of representation, like the case study said, then I think you could easily talk to the parents about what are their experiences. Do they have opinions? But perhaps don't make any decisions that night if you're concerned that not all parties are fairly represented. Also, I would encourage the 8 parents there at the meeting to stay involved. I would keep them updated with invitations for future opportunities to be involved in the school, and I would also collect their contact information, because these are parents that are wanting to be involved. My second plan of action would be to meet and discuss the vision of the school. My strategies of implementation for this would be to have an administrative meeting with the principal to discuss the school's vision, and to discuss our differing views about community involvement. However, hopefully that conversation then will come back to answering the question, how does the community's involvement tie into our school vision? How do we help get the kids what they need and how they need it by involving the community? My third step in my plan of action is to create a community involvement plan. My strategies for implementation are to create a well-formulated community plan for involvement, to align the plan with our school vision. And I think that this would help bring the principal on board as to why we need the plan, is by showing how parent and community involvement actually helps students succeed. I would also allow for multiple opportunities for parent involvement, not just duty, not just cafeteria duty. Could some parents work on things from home? Busy parents also want to be involved, but perhaps they can't make it to the meetings, but they could make flyers and handouts for something. There are all sorts of opportunities, so I think that it's important to allow for multiple types of parent involvement to be available. And I would also, as a part of creating that plan, would be to include a parent survey. Ask them what kinds of things would they like to take part in. So when you're planning an event, you have names of parents who want to help with the events, or even asking them what's the best form of communication. And this ties into my next step. My fourth and final step of my plan would be to invite involvement from the community through multiple formats. In the case study, only one way of invitation was given. Basically, there was a school announcement, and the students were supposed to remember that announcement and get the information to their parents. My strategies for implementing multiple formats would be to send out invitations via email. You could send out invitations via social media. My school has a texting program where you can send a message to all subscribers through text. You could put information about school meetings or opportunities to be involved on the school marquees. You could also do traditional printed forms like letters and flyers. And again, then you could make the student announcement. Category 3, resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. The first step of my plan was to have a meeting with the 8 parents to help build those relationships. From the case, we know that the principals had encountered a lot of parental apathy. He felt parents were better off being left alone, and he was not in favor of proceeding with the meeting when only 8 parents showed up. It's clear that the principal has a negative perception of the parents and a negative perception of their desire to collaborate with the school about their student success. Preston says, before parents and community members can effectively assume the roles of school advisors and teacher collaborators, they need to feel welcomed and comfortable in their child's school culture. I believe that any parent involvement promotes student success, and by having that meeting with the 8 parents, that will help build relationships, that will help the families and parents feel welcome in our school, and then they can feel like they would be an effective part of the school process. Step 2 of my plan is to meet and discuss the school vision and what role community involvement plays in that. From the case, again, the principal has a negative attitude about parent apathy and just lack of parent involvement. He has tried to solicit parent volunteers to work in the cafeteria, and he got a poor response. And again, I think because it was duty in the cafeteria, that's why he got a poor response. Involving parents requires a new way of thinking, as described in this quote. For a school to develop a partnership program involving all parents in ways that increase student success requires new ways of thinking about family and community involvement. All schools need a purposeful, planned partnership program creating a welcoming environment and engaging families in activities that contribute to students' readiness for school, academic success, and positive attitudes and behaviors. If we align our parent involvement plan with our school vision, this will promote student success. The third step of my action plan is to create a well-formulated community involvement plan. From the case study, we know that the vice principal's new school has a very limited community involvement program with little contact or involvement from parents or the community at large. There's been no PTA or PTO. There have in the past been some parent groups, but not much. Again, the principal feels he has tried to solicit parents to volunteer to work in places like the cafeteria. However, the response was poor. Parent school-related involvement can come in many forms, such as helping their children with homework, participating in school-related activities, and assisting them with school-related projects. Several studies found that school-related parental involvement is associated with adolescents receiving higher scores on standardized tests, higher grade point averages, and a general overall sense of higher academic accomplishment. When we have purposeful parent involvement, it does promote student success also. My fourth and final step of my action plan is to invite the community to be involved using different formats. From the case study, we know that the way the community was invited to come to this parent meeting was by simply making an announcement to the students during school, and the students were supposed to remember the information and then get back to their parents and let the parents know about the meeting. And I feel like, of course, there was a poor turnout. Kids forget. While a lot of attention is received by the methods of effective communication that are new, the value, along with the relevance of traditional methods of communication, still exists. Thus, several different methods of communication exist, and the determination of the method that is right for the organization is a vital decision that needs to be taken. I agree with this. In order to have an effective communication plan about parent involvement to promote student success, we must employ different formats. We can't simply make an announcement to students. It needs to involve all of the things that I mentioned in my action plan for student success. Category 4, debriefing the problem. As I was reading the case study, I was thinking things like a clear vision and communication plan are needed at this school. If those things were in place, almost every one of the issues in this case study would be solved. Also, I was thinking about how challenging it can be to work with others and the necessity to be able to have good people skills to be able to work things out when you don't agree. I was feeling things like students are suffering because there is no community involvement. They're missing that part of knowing what the community knows and hears and needs. Also, the parents are missing out on the opportunity to be involved in their child's education, and to me, that left me feeling sad. I was valuing things like relationships, good working relationships with other administrators and staff, as well as good relationships with the community. And I was also valuing student success and thinking about the types of things that, as an administrator, I could do to help ensure student success. Some items that are still open for further investigation are talking about things like what can be done to encourage more community involvement. Are there specific strategies that we could try to encourage more community involvement? Another thing I was thinking, well, once you invite them, as in step 4 of my action plan, they're invited, so now what? What are the things you want to do and what want to accomplish with the community's help? And then last, I thought, how can we best effectively share the vision of the school with the community so that we can have effective outcomes? It's important that they understand what the school's vision is so that the things that we discuss and decisions we make with the community partnership are in alignment with our school vision. Category 5, reflection. Component 1, my effective multifaceted plan promotes the academic success of every student by first building relationships with the parents. As you can see at the bottom of my slide, I have listed all the steps of my multifaceted plan. And by having the meeting and then creating an effective plan and getting those invitations out, that helps build relationships with the parents. It also provides access to community resources for better learning opportunities for our students. When we invite the community in, we can then capitalize on the resources that they have that they can help share with the school. It also empowers parents to support their child's learning, and these 3 things help promote the academic success of every student. Component 2, my effective multifaceted plan promotes the personal well-being of every student by gaining parent support. It's important that the kids feel supported by the adults around them. It also promotes the personal well-being of every student by improved community school relations. And it also gathers important information from the community so that we can in turn help make good decisions for the school. Component 3, my effective multifaceted plan promotes communities of engagement for families and other stakeholders by opening up more effective channels of communication between the school and the community. It provides many forms of involvement opportunities. And also it strengthens relationships, building that trust and credibility that's needed between the school and the community so that these powerful partnerships can be made and we can provide the best educational opportunity for students to ensure student success. Thank you.